put you in charge of this, and so for you to have me come up, I appreciate that. And so I'm excited. Are you guys excited? Yeah. Man, we just came back from the AALC, and it was, oh man, it was just on fire. So we about to explode. That's all I gotta say. Yep. So today I'm gonna talk about double-digit recruiting, and really what helped us start, because when I started in the business, I was not a recruiter initially. You know, my upline, I love her, you know, but she's a beast in this business, and she taught me how to personally produce. And so, but one thing she did tell me, she said, Chanika, it took me 10 years to get here. She said, you don't have 10 years. I said, you're right, I don't have 10 years. She said, so I want you to focus on something I didn't focus on, and that's recruiting. She said, you know, I made a lot of money personally producing, you know, doing investments, doing insurance, but I didn't recruit. And so she said, I want you to focus on recruiting. Now, mind you, you know, just like as a child, you hear what your parents are saying, but you do what they do. Yeah. So I heard what she was saying, but she taught me how to produce. So I was a producer. But coming to Century Club, changing your mind first, because it all starts in the mind. You got to feed yourself this stuff. And I remember Bill O'Reilly used to say, we're crock-potting people. And he said all the time, you're crock-potting your recruits. You need to work with a sense of urgency. And then one day he drew this picture, you know, all the pictures he draws, but they leave like imprints in your mind. And so he drew this picture and he said, this is a log, y'all, you know, but he said, you got to set yourself on fire. And he said, this represents 10. So you got to be the 10 first. You got to make up in your mind that you're responsible for 10 people. Now, that don't mean they all have to be personal recruits for you. There are 3 recruits for you, but you got to be responsible for bringing in 10. Once you make up in your mind that you're responsible for bringing in 10, you do it month in and month out, eventually a spark happens. And then another person's going to come alongside you, and they'll do 10. And then another spark will happen. And then they'll do 10. And that's exactly what happened with us. You know, I made up in my mind, this was, and I brought my trend track. You know, when we first went full-time, Taria put us in front of Keisha Pell, and he was like, well, before we even meet, I need to see her trend track. You know, he was like, I don't even need to meet with her, I need to see her trend track first. So he saw our trend track, he said, okay, let's meet. Because he said, anyone can do good 1 month. He said, the trend track tells the story. So pull your trend track out and see what your story is. Because your trend track lets you know what your habits are. And so after he saw our trend track, he was like, okay, you can go full time. So I pulled out my trend track, and I'm going to share with you guys. And I'm going to be completely honest, you know, because, I mean, you know, there were times when, and Bill O'Reilly said, he said, what happens is when people start getting this going, then they tend to slack. You know, and so that's what happened last year. I'll show you my numbers. My personal recruiting slacked. Even though I had the base shop going, you know, you get excited about it and you get into management mode. You do. Even if you tell yourself, I'm not, you know, I'm going to make sure I stay recruiting. I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen. You get excited. You got people coming in. And then your personal recruiting numbers do go down and you slack. And then you start managing people. And you're like, okay, let me work with this person. And so, but then when you promote an RVP, you're like, okay, I got to get back to work. So that's what happened to me. I was like, okay, I got to get back in it. So it was 2016 when I made up in my mind that we were going to double-digit recruit, okay? So I'm just going to write down, and I meant to do like this nice little PowerPoint or whatever because I'm a teacher, but coming back from AALC, I didn't have time to do it, so I just printed out my trend track. So 2016 was when, in my mind, and Edward had been telling me for a while, but you can hear something, and it just don't happen. Yeah. You know, we keep hearing this stuff. We know what we need to do, but it's just not happening. Until something just clicked, like really. And it was January, and I said, okay, we're going to start double-digit recruiting. So January 2016, we recruited 4 people that whole month. That's when I made up in my mind that come hell or high water, I'm responsible for 10. So I'm going to share with you the team recruits, my personal recruits, and who I was responsible for. Because you got to make up in your mind that I am responsible for bringing in 10. Mm-hmm. And once you make up in your mind that I'm responsible for it, that means you're not leaving it up to your team to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm not leaving it up for them to bring in 10. I'm going to bring in 10. Because the company says I double-digit recruit for 18 months straight, I'm a 6-figure earner for life. Right. I do it for 2 years, you're a $250,000 earner for life. Do it for 3 years, you're a $500,000 earner for life. I keep those numbers in my head. because I know I'm responsible for bringing in 10. And so you got to make up in your mind, now 3 are going to be direct, but I'm responsible for touching 10 people. Okay? So, February, we did 13 recruits. Okay? So 13 recruits, I touched 10. I had 4 personal. So for the whole month we had 13, I touched 10 of those 13, and I had 4 personal. Okay? And I'm just going to show this is the first year that it happened. And what happens is the compounding starts to happen. Once you're responsible for bringing in 10, it don't happen that month. It don't happen that year. It wasn't until the following year that then we start doing 20 consistently. But you just got to stay focused on the 10. Right. You got to say, I am responsible for this. So the very next month, we had 11 team recruits. And I was responsible for 10, and I had 3. Then the very next month, we had 10 recruits. I was responsible for 6, I had 4 recruits. So, I mean, the numbers, it just plays out. So my personal numbers, this is my personal recruit. So 4, 3, and then I'm responsible for 4 again, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, and then it was not until December that I recruit no one in December, personally. Now the team did 27, and I had no personal recruits that run. That was my first time that I had no personal recruits. I was mad at myself. And I remember one of them, I think it was Latoya, she told me, she said, well, why, you got 27 recruits. I said, but I don't have anything personal. And but at that point, you're bringing in more than 10. 1 month, literally 1 month, November of 2016, I was responsible for 22 recruits. I was responsible for 22. The team did 27. Out of those 27, I touched 22, and I had 1 direct. I mean, and this, it's chaotic. Your schedule's going to be chaotic. You're going to be all over the place. I mean, it just is what it is. This is business. You're not working a 9 to 5 and going home and having lunch and dinner with you're just not. I mean, there were times I didn't get home till midnight, and so it was just, I appreciate my husband, but one time he told me, he said, I don't want to have to tell you that I need your time, but I need your time. so last year was when, the team was doing it, and I took some time off to be with my husband, because we got to take care of our spouse, y'all. So I had to do that, but you got to be responsible for 10. So this was 2016. So that year, our average was 14. So in 2016 we averaged 14 recruits, and really that's all Edward looks at is the recruiting numbers. He can care less about the premium. Because we focus on, so I had to keep telling myself, because if not, you'll trip yourself up, because we know we got to make money. Right. We know we got to make money. Right. And money comes from doing some policies. So some premium got to come in. Right. But I had to keep telling myself that I'm focused on building people, and I want the policies to fall in my lap through internal consumption. And so that's all I kept telling myself. I'm recruiting and internal consumption. The policies are going to fall in my lap. And I kept saying, fall in my lap. They just going to fall. Because you got to start speaking it. Right. And if you don't speak it, it's not going to happen. So I just started speaking it over and over again, And guess what? That's what happens. The policies fall in my lap. Getting people to their promotions, internal consumption. When you completely focused on recruiting first, and you're recruiting in the right market, internal consumption happens. Right. Because they need a policy. Right. They don't have a policy. They have everything at work, or they got the wrong kind. Right. And you don't have Primerica, so if you have term, it ain't my term. Right. So you get my term. Right. So you got to keep your eyes. So this was 2016. 2017, let me know about the time. I don't want to overdo my time. Okay, thank you. 2017 was when we didn't go below 22 recruits that year. Our average was 27. We promoted 2 RVPs. Our average was, and my personal was 2. So it was like, I personally, recruited 2, but I still touched 10. When I go back through and see what I touched, I still touched 10. 1 month I touched 16. 1 month I touched 13. I mean, you just got to be responsible for bringing in 10 people. Absolutely. And once you make yourself responsible for that, then everything follows through. And then in 2018, it was, hold on. Looking at my trend track. 26. Now this was after promoting 2 RVPs. I had to build that thing back up. So our average was 26. You know, the most we recruited was 53.
Don't forget to mention I threw first one up to 30.
I threw first one up to 30.
30, what, like 35.
I mean, he takes care of all that. I just
I'm just saying because it adds on to the story of just understanding that the double digit.
Because it's compounding. And our real compounding really hasn't happened.
Right.
You know, and when we went to the Bill Render Multiple Fast Start School, he said, this isn't double digit recruiting. He said, this is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that expanded my mind. That's when you got teams.
Yeah.
So as part of my goals, I write down that I lead leaders who create and lead 10 by 10 teams. You know, my goals changed through this process. My affirmations changed, because at first my affirmation was, I'm a double-digit recruiter. Then it was, I create double-digit recruiting teams. Now it's, I lead leaders who create and lead 10 by 10 teams. You know, because your vision changes, and so you gotta speak things that you want. So that's what I want. And so I definitely want to give a shout out to one of my consistent double-digit recruiters. I mean, because every now and then you'll get people that'll pop up and do 10. But I have one person who consistently, month in and month out for the last 9 months,
All right.
has done over 10 recruits each month, and that's Sharon Alex.
All right.
That's right.
All right.
All right,
I'm just going to show you what she did. Okay? So June of last year, she did 16 recruits, and she's responsible for all these recruits. I don't touch any of her recruits. Now, in the beginning, I was working with you, and I touched your recruits. That's when I was doing the double-digit recruiting. But then she popped out. She became the spark, and she's the consistent spark. So she did 16 recruits, then she did 11, then she did 13, then she did 10, then she did 12, she did 13, she did 11. Now this year she did 10, 14. This is her first month as an RVP.
Yes,
She's already at
Sharon.
9.
Yes.
And so I just told her, stay consistent because she's going to get the ring. It's just a matter of time because she's already on track with working with people. And so I'm just excited about that because of that, other people are seeing, okay, I need to stay consistent with double-digit recruiting because that's where the premium comes from. That's where you got people. You want people. Art Williams says you want a lot of people doing a little and a few doing a lot. The thing is, we get our few people and we bring them dry. We squeeze them every month. What you got? What you got? What you got? Whereas if you got so many people, I don't have time to be mad at you. How else did Capri Singh for 2 years? Capri Singh did nothing for 2 years, but she stayed in the bay shop. Now she's going to be a future $1 million earner. So it's like, how does someone sit 2 years in your bay shop? That means your environment is there. That means you're growing them, you're building them. So I want to have an incubator where people are growing. That means I got to have a lot of people. That means I don't get mad at you if you don't produce. That means you're growing. That means something is happening on the inside. Before you see a big old tree, you see roots going down. So I know I'm going to have some big old trees.
Yeah.
Because I got people that are growing. They're in the bay shop. They may not be producing right now, or they're producing very little numbers, but I know the roots are getting deep. I know I'm growing, they're growing, and I'm working with them. You know, and I don't get mad at them when they don't produce. They come, they're consistently coming, they're learning, they're building, and I know explosion is going to happen. So that's what I got for you.